So I'm going to show you how to start the portfolio organizer. So first thing you're going to want to do is get your actual physical historian's portfolio folder. Have that in front of you, and you're going to want to take out any work that you've done for Unit 1 that you feel shows your growth as a historian. Once you've got that in front of you, you're going to go to Google Drive and you're going to find the Google Doc. My computer's a little slow this morning. You're going to find the Google Doc that says your name plus portfolio organizer fall 2015. You're going to open that up and you're going to see that it's a chart. And one column of the chart is already filled out for you. It's the standards for social studies in the Common Core standards, 11th and 12th grade. So since these cover 11th and 12th grade, you might not reach full mastery of these standards in 11th grade, but you should get a good deal of the way there, so that in 12th grade you're building on what you've learned in 11th grade. So we're going to look through the standards, and I'm going to highlight a few that we've really focused on that you might want to focus on for your Unit 1 reflection. So one that we've looked at a lot is citing specific textual evidence in primary and secondary sources, this first one. So we've done that a lot. For example, when we looked at the we looked at the Constitutional Convention, and we decided if Benjamin Franklin was opposed to slavery, for example, and we looked at some of the other gentlemen at the Constitutional Convention and decided what their opinions about slavery were. That would be textual evidence for a primary source. When we looked at Howard Zinn and the other historian talking about the Declaration of Independence, that would be analyzing a secondary source. So let's say, for example, that I got that Constitution assignment back and I got a full 100%, or I got an A on it. So I'm going to say this activity would be the slavery in the Constitution. Okay, now I need to explain how the assignment shows my progress. So I'm going to say something like, in this assignment, I was able to explain the attitude of the Founding Fathers based on the primary attitude of the Founding Fathers towards slavery. We want to say their attitude about what? Based on the primary sources. So that would be a good example of you're thinking like a historian, you're explaining how people viewed things based on primary sources. Okay, so that would be one standard, and as we go through the semester, you'll probably have more than one. So let's number this. We're going to say 1 and 1. And then when I find another example, maybe in Unit 2, I'm going to label it 2. I'm going to put number 2, and I'll add that when the time comes. Okay, another activity that we just finished was our practice document-based question. That would be a good example of integrating and evaluating multiple sources of information presented in diverse formats and media. So for example, we had cartoons, we had our drawings, we had a map, we had a graph, and we had a couple of short texts. So that would be diverse, what we call diverse formats. And we used that information to address a question or solve a problem. The question was, what was the effect of the British attempts at control? Or to what extent did the British control lead to the American colonists revolting? So here I'm going to say DBQ practice essay. And I'm going to say in the DBQ practice essay, my group and I were able to respond to the prompt by combining or by using two sources from, or two documents we analyzed the graph of imports to show that the British actions hurt the economy, and we used Washington's Washington's letter to show that the colonists resented the British taxes. We were able to conclude that British control had a large influence on colonists' attitudes about revolution. Something like that. So I've hit 2 standards, and what I'm going to do at the end of the semester is I'm going to take all this and I'm going to put it into a letter that's going to explain why I should get a good grade. And I think this would be a good start, because you've identified 2 standards that you've made progress on, and both of these standards show that you're learning to think like a historian or becoming better at thinking like a historian. So now that you've seen the screencast, go ahead and go back and see if you can identify at least one piece of evidence from Unit 1 that would show your growth as a historian, and make sure you put the evidence, if it's on paper, in your actual portfolio folder.